Hey, kia ora. Helen Brown here, coming live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Wow. That's all I have to say for today. Wow. I am absolutely exhausted. Just got back from my walk with Zephy and told her we had to rush because we had to get back on live. And I just realized I am on a whole hour early. It's supposed to be 6 p.m. Pacific, not 5 p.m. And it's currently 6:09 Mountain Time. So I am on a whole hour. Oh, well, we're here. We'll just roll with it. Means those that show up at 6 p.m. will miss it. I'm sorry. If you showed up at 6 p.m. Pacific time to see our Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1200. Yes, number 1200. It's called Wow. Kicked it up a notch. And so if you showed up at 6 p.m. Pacific time expecting to see me go live, I am sorry. My brain's a little fried. I'm tired. And I realize I'm on 50 minutes early. So I apologize. Please forgive me. It's a fried brain day. I've been working on Pacific time all day. Poor Zephy, I might take her for another walk after this. So she gets her full walk in. Although we did do one complete lap around the resort. But today we had the final day of the Leverage Conference, or the fourth annual the Leverage Conference. It was awesome. Today the masters came and got to speak. And sorry, I got hair everywhere. And we heard some incredible speakers today. We heard on sale. We got, hang on, I'm going back to my notes. There was a lot. Hang on. Still got to go another page. Okay, there we go. So our first one up was we learned about sales with Dr. Donna Smith Bellinger. She always delivers. She has such an amazing presence, and the stuff that she gave us was just gold nuggets. We got a lot of gold nuggets today. I feel like I'm way down in gold. Then we had Mary Wu come on and talk about LinkedIn, and about your things you should do daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly with your profile. And that was kind of a wake-up call, because I think I might go on there like maybe once a week, once a month. I am not very consistent with LinkedIn yet. That is where a lot of my ideal clients hang out. You think, I guess because I'm not as comfortable using LinkedIn as I am using Facebook. So it's a learning curve. And then we had Hudson come on and talk about business entities and all of that, and basic bookkeeping and stuff like that, and he had us download publication 583, which is an IRS documentation. He said is a must read. That was our homework. I've already downloaded it. I haven't read it yet, but it's all about setting up your books for your new business and that sort of stuff. And we talked about the different entities and the protections you can get with the different entities. And even he showed us a case study on the tax breaks, not the tax breaks, how much taxes you would pay. So we had the same dollar amount coming in, the different expenses going out, and then how much the company would pay based on the style of entity that it was. So that was an eye-opener. Yes, and I just opened an LLC. So that was an eye-opener. So confer with people before you take a leap as to what entity you want to get. I have my friend Terza. She came on next, and she was talking about NFTs and what they were and things like that. And did I show you Lambkins? This is Lambkins. This is one of her coffee cats. And this one's the little witch one. I call it Matilda. I have no idea what this coffee cat's name actually is, but I call it Matilda. I don't know. The name just popped into my head. I know you're asking about that. And so she was talking about that. Touched a little bit on the metaverse, which I really want to get to know about. Then we have Margot came on and talked about podcasting, and also even though I've been doing podcasts as long as I've been doing podcasts, I still learn some new things. And so I'm going to be looking more closely at what it is I do with my podcasts and how I can improve them. So you guys get to benefit. Then we had Lalisa come in and talk about how trauma can affect your business. So if you have employees who get displaced from their homes for whatever reason, fires, they got burgled, they lost the house, whatever the reason, how to deal with that, how to deal with other traumas that come up, deaths in the family, families getting separated, all sorts of things, and just remember that we're human beings first. And the important detail was to block time in your calendar for yourself. And I definitely do that. That's usually my Sundays, but tomorrow is going to be a complete study day. I got probably about 2 hours of study done last night, but it's nowhere near enough. And I have an assessment due on Monday. And so tomorrow is going to be spent on the computer without a break. Oh, no, I will take regular breaks throughout the day. But basically, I'm going to be on the computer tomorrow getting my assessment done for this week. So I want to try and get it done by Monday so I don't have to worry about it on Monday. But I have Monday as a cushion should it be needed. And I have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern time. So that's, let's see, on Mountain time, so that would be -2. So I got like till 9. I'm going to get it done by 8 o'clock Mountain time, hard and fast. Because it's the time I need to watch James Bond. Because my James Bond stuff is on hold right now because of the Leverage conference and getting my study time done. I studied till like 9:30 last night, and I'm like, I am not retaining anything. I had looked at, I pulled the information off the census report that I needed. I'd looked at the differences on the one family over the 10-year time period. And because we had to look at a 1920 census and then see that same family again in the 1930 census and what changes had taken place during that 10 years. And then we're going to go and pull the extract. And there's also other information we're going to read, like what was the enumerator rules of that time, which can then give you more information. Because a lot of people forget that the enumerators have instructions on how they're going to fill out the forms, how they have to do their little tour and all. There was like a 28-page, 30-page book for them on instructions on how to do the census, the way that they conducted themselves and that sort of thing. And in some of the columns where it says, for office use afterwards. And so I got to go crack those codes. And then Casey closed us out. And as usual, he just brought his A game. I wouldn't expect anything less. He always brings his A game. And it was just a really quick, abbreviated networking conversation because they only have a certain amount of time. And but then what was really cool was that afterwards, and he talked about some parts of networking as well and being on point on purpose. Sorry, I got a fried brain at the moment. I don't think I'll be doing any study tonight, to be honest. I think I'm just going to go crash, have some dinner and crash. Brain's fried. So then he had us write down what we're committed to doing, and I've already reached out to the people that I have. I've almost reached out to all of the people that I have on my list that I have committed to contacting from this event. And then they, after every 2 speakers, they would put those 2 speakers into separate breakout rooms, and you could go between the 2 breakout rooms and ask questions. And that's where the speakers got to do their selling, because we weren't allowed to sell from the stage. So we actually had an extended one because we had 3 speakers for the last breakout things. And then after that, we were just all sitting there and just chit-chatting and having some great discussions and everything else. And I looked at the time and went, I got to go take Zephy for a walk. Plus, I'd also finally submitted my grocery order that I was supposed to do yesterday. So I submitted my grocery order, and obviously Saturday afternoon is the completely wrong time to submit a grocery order because a lot of stuff got replaced or refunded because it wasn't in stock and I didn't like what they had in stock and that sort of thing. So I have to take a note of that. And it says, I normally order, if I'm going to do an order on a Saturday, it's usually first thing in the morning. But there was no way I could break away to go and deal with that while doing my MC duties as well. So, but yeah, there was a really great discussion. Everybody was just chillaxing and having a really great discussion. It's sort of like, okay, I got to go walk the dog. I got to got, groceries, study, all of that sort of stuff. But and then I'm like out with Zeffie, and I hear this ding in my ear, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that tells me that I've got like 10 minutes to get back and get online for my podcast. It turned out it was the 10-minute ding to take Zeffie for a walk. I didn't look at it. It was in my little pouch there, and I have a little pouch thing that I wear on my waistband when I put my phone in it, and it turned out it was actually to take Zeffie for a walk. I was so ahead of myself today. So for those of you coming on at 6 o'clock, I'm sorry. I was on early. I apologize. I got a fried brain. But the last 3 days of the Leverage Conference, the last 3 days, there's only 3 days in the Leverage Conference, but the time spent on the Leverage Conference was absolutely amazing. She got some top-notch speakers in there. I learned a lot from the speakers. I can see and I'm going to be implementing, and I've taken pages of notes. Pages. Here's my notebook. Hang on. And out of this notebook, I have, that's the last page. Where I put the first page? I don't even know how many pages I have. But this is how many pages I have of notes. And some of them I've got red circle thingy. Red, this is pink. I have written in pink or outlined it in pink of stuff that I need to do, and some of it I have already done. But there was a lot of learning in there. People coming in, we had, like I said, we had the LinkedIn specialist. We had a specialist with podcasts. We had a specialist in sales. We had a specialist in tax. And the cool part about the tax guy is that he has I've got to remember how I worded this. He can do stuff at the federal. He's got some federal certification, which means he can work in any state. But he says, if I don't have clients in the state, I've got to do a little more research to find out what the state rules are for the tax filings and that sort of thing. We learned about the different generations and how to communicate with them. And that just opened the mind. We learned about, networking from like 3 different people, 3 completely different perspectives on networking in 3 completely different ways, that you could put the 3 together and just be like an ace networker or a master networker. So that was really cool. And we had these 3 different people giving their versions of from their points of view on how to network. Some of it overlapped, but there was also different vantage points from each of them, which when you put those 3 ideas together, it's just magic. That's magic. We also heard about the importance of telling your story. And you guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know how important the storytelling is, leaving your story. But the cool part is that when Charlotte was talking about telling the story, it's not just you could sit and record it by audio. You could sit and record it on video. You could write it down. You could do the voice to text thing. So you speak it, it types it. But she's also talking about you can tell your story through poetry. You can tell your story through photographs. You can tell your story through song. Tell your story through dance. Tell your story through scrapbooking. Tell your story through photography, painting, exploring nature. There's so many different ways that you can tell your story. It's not just sitting down and writing with a pen and paper or recording it. There's a whole ways that you can express yourself, and you find the best way to capture your story in a way that will last for generations, so that future generations can see or listen to your story. But write a song about it, dance it to music, compose the music about it and get somebody to dance to it or something like that. There's so many different ways that we can express ourselves. So choose the way that works best for you and tell your story using that medium. You could use a variety of different mediums. You could write your story. You could create a poem. I've got 2 poems that I wrote about my grandfathers when they passed away. For both of my I wrote poems for both, and one of them actually got read out at the funeral, which was kind of cool. And my great aunt comes up to me because she wanted a copy, so we printed off a copy for her. And they had me type it up on the typewriter. I typed it up on a typewriter because we didn't have computers at that point. And my great aunt was there, and she said, "Oh, can you type me a copy too, and then sign it, so I can say I knew you when?" So, yeah, I was like, "Sure, I can do that." So I did that for her, and that poem I actually wrote on the plane on the way to my grandfather's funeral. So yes, that was kind of cool that my great aunt thought that I'd be a famous writer one day, and so she wanted a signed copy of that poem so she could turn around and say, "I knew her when." And I'm like, "But you're my great aunt. You've known me since birth." So I love that. But there's different modalities that you can tell your story. So find the modality that works for you and tell your story. Let's see, what else did we learn? We learned about having your dreams, creating your dreams, keeping them in front of you, making sure that you put self-care in there. We've got a few people talking about self-care and how important it is. As somebody who is a nurturer, which is me, I'm used to taking care of others rather than taking care of myself. And when Brad passed, I no longer had anyone to take care of. I'm in the house by myself, and there's nobody there for me to take care of. And somebody turned around to me one day and said, "Well, what about yourself?" I go, What about myself?" And she says, "You could take care of you." I'm like, "But that's not how it works. I'm supposed to be a caregiver for others." And she's like, "No, you can be a caregiver for yourself." And that was sort of like, oh, that was a revelation for me. So we did hear a lot about, self-care, building it into your plans, making sure that it's in there and all of that. We got a lesson on the bank personalities, and there's a podcast I did with Brandon Barnum a couple of months ago, and we talked about the bank personalities on that. But every time I hear somebody teach about the bank personalities, I learn new stuff and I understand it better. So that was kind of cool to see that. And I could definitely, this time I was able to see what actually Brad was. And I'm like, the poor guy. Because when she was talking about the planning and the lists and everything else, I was sort of like, oh, Brad was so screwed with me, because I was sort of like, hey, let's go for a drive. He goes, "Where are we going?" I don't know. And that used to annoy him. If I turn around and said, "Let's go for a drive," or "Let's go out for dinner," or, if I did anything spur of the moment, he was like, "Well, what's the plan? Where are we going? What are we doing?" And had I known about bank back then, it probably didn't even exist back then, we probably could have had a little bit of communication at times, because I was spontaneous. I was like, "Let's go." Yes, my poor husband. Oh. We heard from people who have published books, and why they wrote those books, a little bit of their background, why they wrote those books, who they're looking at helping with those books. And Deborah was interviewing them and asking them about their books that they had written and things like that, which was really kind of cool, because you got to hear people's different perspective on life. And you're like, oh, so my story isn't like everybody else's. Yes, we might have some similarities in situations that we have been in, but everybody has a unique story. And that's the big thing that came across to me when during the authors' interviews and things, why they had written these books. Let's see, yesterday, the round table was awesome. 2 sides. We had a Brit and an American, and they were just talking about each other. One would ask a question about, what's going on in your country about this. And it was like no topic was off the table. And it was just a very frank, open discussion, which was awesome. And then they opened it, and then that was the first hour. Then they opened it up so other people could have their input and have their turn at discussing some of the things as well. And our topic was "A house divided cannot stand." That was our topic, and it was really interesting to hear other people's perspective on what's currently happening. One of the biggest takeaways I took actually from day one was when we're talking about the different generations and things that they had been through. And like you've got the greatest generation, which was born before 1940. Well, now you're looking at the latest generation and the stuff that they're starting to go through. And it very much mirrors what the greatest generation, which is born before 1940, went through. And I'm like, isn't that interesting? History repeats itself. Oh, that's interesting. The only difference between now and then is the technology, and the and what we have available to us that was not even invented back then. So that was kind of interesting to see that, and just how history repeats itself. That was kind of cool. But I did like, here's the English perspective, here's the US perspective on the situation. This is what's happening in this country, this is what's happening in this country, discussing it. It was awesome. We learned a lot about leadership as well, leadership in business, and how to be the one who walks the walk and talks the talk, instead of just saying, do as I say, not as I do. And how important it is, if you are going to lead, then lead how you want your business to, hang on, I wrote it down here somewhere. Yeah, model the behaviors you want to see from others. So if you want to talk the talk and walk the walk, talk the talk and walk the walk. Show others through, not only tell them, but show them that, this is the sort of mind, this is what we want done in the business. This is how we're running the business, and things like that. So that's very good. And again, self-care came up in this one as well, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So I loved, this is one thing that I did love. It was create a positive, loving relationship with yourself. Be your own best friend. Oh, why did we not think of that? And that one just kind of stuck with me. We also learned about publicity and things that we can, how publicity will help our businesses and help help the bottom line. We learned to magnetize, multiply, monetize. And that's what basically publicity was about. But learning different techniques that we could use and different skills that we could use to help publicize our businesses, so that we would get more of our ideal clients coming in and things like that. And those businesses that don't say anything don't get no business. It's all about publicity. We also learned about digital technology and how that is affecting businesses today. And, we've got websites, landing pages, videos, email marketing, social media, business networking, training, all sorts of things that's in the digital realm, and how that can be beneficial for your business. We got a lot of another talk on, what's the matter, Seth? Oops, your dog food's in the way. We heard about a different perspective on podcasting, and getting testimonials and edifications and referrals and third-party validation, and solving somebody's problem. And when you solve somebody's problem, you actually create other problems, and how you go about solving those problems for them through your network. So you solve the initial problem, which creates other problems. Oh, I've got somebody I can refer you to for that. So that was really cool. I tell you, we had some great speakers. And then we got into today's one where we had learning about sales, different techniques on sales, how to establish, demonstrate greater credibility, getting varieties of testimonials, and how to get people to structure a testimonial so that it's more impactful. We learned about LinkedIn today and what you do daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly. And I'm like, oh, my LinkedIn profile needs a lot of help. That's what I got out of that one. And because when she said what you need to be doing weekly, I'm sort of like, okay, you post, what was it? About, what you should do daily. And I'm like, I'm not doing daily stuff. If I'm in there once a week, that's good. If I'm in there once a month, nah. But, she talks about what we should be doing daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So I'm going to start getting into LinkedIn a little more. And again, we learned about the different entities. We learned about NFTs and the blockchain. And I love how Terza explains it, because she's got the engineering background and the software programming and all that. But she's a very creative artist. And she put it in a way that spoke to my creative side that I actually understood. So I got to hear about the blockchain and how that actually works. And oh, that's awesome. I loved that. Talking about podcasts and getting, having your own podcast, getting on other people's podcasts. When you're structuring your podcast, the steps to go through to help you structure that. And then trauma affecting your business. And then, of course, ending up with networking with Casey. And then just ending up sitting down and having a general discussion about everything. So this year, I got to participate last year as the announcer. This year was we had a great caliber of speakers. I mean, we had a great caliber of speakers last year, but this year it seemed to be up their game. Everybody who spoke last year got to up their game a little bit this year. And we had some people that were new speakers. I was one of the new speakers speaking on genealogy and why genealogy was important. But then just sitting there and chit-chatting afterwards. I didn't participate in the chit-chat much, but not until the end when I had to leave. But I was sitting there listening to everybody and listening to people's different point of views on what was being spoken about and that sort of thing. And that was just a very interesting conversation. It was, meeting after the meeting is where you get the best stuff. You get a lot of really good stuff during the conference, but it seems the meeting after the meeting is where you get some really good golden nuggets and things. And the next Leverage Conference is going to be happening November 9 through 11 in 2023. So mark your calendars and come join us, because it is going to be amazing. So that's it from me for today. I am exhausted, brain fried. I've rabbled it on long enough. I'm out of here. I am going to go and get some dinner, and then probably that's going to be me for the day. And tomorrow is going to be a day of study. And I can't get ahead of my work because the next assignment doesn't come out till Tuesday. And Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be at Networking Riches, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you want to come join us. So I've got back-to-back events this week and next week. So it's been a busy 2 weeks. Anyway, go out, have a super fantastic sparkling day, and go do an act of kindness for somebody. Totally unexpected. If you're going through a drive-through, pay for the car, pay for the order behind you. If you're see somebody struggling with boxes, offer to help them with the packages or open doors for them. If you see somebody who needs help, just stop and lend a hand. That was one thing that was kind of threaded through everything, was just, random acts of kindness. So go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific, not 5 p.m. Pacific. I will try and keep that straight. Hey, konera.